Unfolding from chaos that rocked one of America's closest allies in East Asia. Today, opposition leaders in South Korea moved to impeach the president after he unexpectedly declared martial law.
Several hours after doing that, the president lifted that order under intense pressure. This afternoon, we're joined by a former national security leader to discuss the reaction to this from the U.S. perspective. Frank Figliuzzi is a former assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI. He is also a national security analyst for NBC News. Frank, thank you for taking time with us today. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Starting with South Korea, given our country's close relationship with that country, why is what's happening there of such interest to us here in the U.S.?
And anytime you see a strong ally, a democratically run government, have its leader impose martial law, which is about the most serious thing a leader can do, we've got to stand up and pay attention. We have close ties with South Korea. We have 30,000 U.S. troops on the ground defending South Korea from North Korea, and of course the business trade with companies like Samsung and Hyundai, all happening on a daily basis to the tune of billions of dollars in trade. So this matters to us, and I think there's a lesson here as well. What seems to have happened by all expert analysis is that the president there was experiencing record low favorability ratings in the 20s, for example, and decided that the thing to do against his opponents was to claim that communists and North Korean supporters had infiltrated the opposition in his country against him. There's no real evidence to back that up, by the way. We're still waiting to see what in the world he was talking about, but this appears to be almost a panic attempt to rally the country behind him by identifying and calling out a common enemy that actually may not have existed. Thankfully, and ironically, the thing that united the very divided country of South Korea is his declaration of martial law, where the legislature immediately met and unanimously agreed that to renounce his declaration of martial law and call him out on it and say, no, that's not happening. Thank goodness for that.
What do you make of that swift action from lawmakers, including, as you noted, some from within the president's own conservative party to condemn what he did?
I think there's a lesson here. You know, history teaches us first that leaders who are in a panic or authoritarian in nature do this over and over again. They try to rally the country. They try to call out an enemy that's against them. They declare public gatherings to be illegal so that protesters can't meet. And of course, this had the very opposite effect. Protesters hit the streets immediately. People who even supported him in the legislature came out against him. Real lesson to be learned here. And look, we've got a president-elect who has hinted and even said that he might someday invoke the Insurrection Act and put troops on the street. I hope we're all paying attention to this.
So real quickly here before we move on to other topics, what is next here? What should folks here in America be watching for to happen as all eyes are on this country?
One of the things I'd be watching for is whether the State Department changes their travel advisory for South Korea. If you're planning a trip or you have family there, I know holidays are coming up, always take a look at that State Department website and particularly the U.S. Embassy in Seoul. Go to their website and see what they're recommending in terms of potential violence, potential issues in the street. That's number one. Secondly, let's look at it. We're just weeks away from a new president in the United States. Let's look at any public statements he's making for or against with regard to what South Korea's leader has done.
Frank, while we still have you this afternoon, we want to ask you about another topic that could impact national security here in the U.S. As you mentioned, President-elect Donald Trump is preparing to go into office, and he would like to name one of his loyalists, Kash Patel, to lead the FBI. What's your reaction to that choice?
Look, it's an agency I spent 25 years at, retired as an assistant director. I care deeply about the current and future condition of the Bureau. Does it need some bureaucratic change? Of course. Does it need to be dismantled at the risk of increasing the threat to our country and our communities? No. And my concern is that while they paint Kash Patel as a, quote, disruptor, he sounds a lot more like a destroyer. He wants to pursue political enemies, journalists, people who did their job by investigating and prosecuting wrongdoing. That's a problem. And if you combine that with the nominee for Attorney General, Pam Bondi, those two together can do some real damage. And lastly, even if Patel is not confirmed by the Senate right away, he's allowed to serve up to 7 months as an acting director. And a lot of harm could be done in 7 months.
Frank Figliuzzi, again, a national security analyst with the NBC News and a former FBI agent. We appreciate you taking the time with us and spending some time to talk about these topics. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.